Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the celebrated podcast that explores your favorite looks in film, television, and fashion history. Through conversations with the fashion world's elite and award-winning hair, makeup, and costume designers on sets around the world, you will see and hear exciting tales from behind the scenes, career origin stories, and tons of advice and tips. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Look Behind the Look. It is Emmy season and the voting is open. So I'm bringing you another episode about the studio because it's my obsession. It's amazing. If you guys all know, it's very inside baseball, but like in a very fun way. If you're not watching, what are you even doing? Which I love to say about most things that I talk about on the show. But this in particular is like, I love it. And you do too. So I'm talking to Kameron Lennox today. She is the costume designer for the show. And as you know, her work is just phenomenal in this show. She really brought this like old Hollywood glamour, but like in this insane, quirky way. It's so good and so reflective of everybody's personality and just spot on for each character. So she's going to talk to me about how that all came to be and how she came up with some of the ideas that we get to enjoy watching in the costume design. And I look forward to you enjoying the episode. That's it. Enjoy this conversation with Kameron. And don't forget to check out the one with Vanessa and Georgie about makeup. I'm going to attach it here in the show notes as well. So you can get totally geeked out on the studio and all the creative design. Hi, I'm here with Kameron Lennox from the studio. You are Emmy nominated for your costume design in this brilliant series, not limited series. It's going on. It's gotten renewed, and I'm so thankful for it. But thanks for talking to me, Kameron. I know how busy you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've been so excited. This is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite show this year, and it has replaced The Bear. Temporarily, maybe. We don't know, but for sure. I've watched it twice. I'm watching it again with my son this time. And
Oh, wow.
it's been a ride to watch it with him. I have to tell you, he has very specific questions for you.
How old is your son?
He's 16. So
Okay, okay,
he,
good. Okay.
he decided that he wants to be Matt, Seth Rogen's character now, which,
Mhm.
is a little scary. But I just have to ask you how you came to the project. I've spoken to Vanessa Price and Georgie Douglas.
I did watch that. Yeah,
Oh,
because
good. Okay.
we're all good friends, So
Amazing.
she
Okay.
sent it to me right away, and I watched it. It was really cute. I mean,
Well,
it's really nice though their little banter
oh my
between each
gosh.
other too. Yeah,
I always feel like, can we go out after this? Like, can we?
yeah. I know.
And
They
they
are a
sung
party.
your
Yeah.
praises.
Oh, I know. I heard about the hair hat and how Cammy loves a hat, and that is true. That is true.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So you two, I mean, you and Seth, tell me how you came to the project, just like I have not heard anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, it is interesting because it's not anything that I expected at all. I randomly met Seth on Pam and Tommy because I work with Craig
Right.
Gillespie and he brought me in on that project. And so that was the first time we worked together. And literally in the fitting room for his character was the first time I'd met him. And I just found him to be such an interesting person. He definitely had his take on his characters, but he didn't ever control what I had envisioned. Like he had his ideas and his opinions, but he let me do what I do and laughed at it and saw the humor in it, and took it and helped, he molded it into his character and he used what we did on that project because he's not glamorous by any means
Right.
in that show. And he was playing something so different than his normal character. So
Yes.
then I met him again because I had worked with Rose Byrne before on an Apple TV show called Physical. And so she had recommended me for Platonic when it came around, season one. And so there we were again, on another project together. And it was like, hey, remember me, and and that character too has a very specific, all his characters have very specific, very different looks to them,
Yeah.
but very unique. And there's a lot to it. It's not just, khakis and a button shirt or something like that. And so he started talking about that character. So that character, there's nowhere in those scripts that describe how he dressed. So he had said some things that he was thinking, and then we just ran with it, and it became what it was, right? And so then we worked again on Craig Gillespie's show movie Dumb Money,
I
about
loved
the
that
whole
movie. I loved it.
GameStop
Yes.
phenomenon. Yeah. And there he was just even a totally different character. So I'd already kind of,
Right.
established this relationship with him, but it was so nice and well balanced. He's a very balanced person to talk to and work with. And he's so open to things that when we were on the studio, or no, on Platonic, I had kind of heard rumblings that he had a show that he was going to do. And so I got this call, Seth and Evan want to meet with you to discuss this show that they're doing for Apple. And, in my mind's eye, I wasn't thinking like, oh, they're going to offer it to me. It was like, oh, this, I want to do this. I love working with him. And I got the scripts, and the scripts were, like right away. I was like, absolutely. And then we got on the Zoom, and I thought I was just like doing my song and dance to convince them like I'm the person for you. And
Right.
It was like the Zoom was all the producers, showrunners, everybody, and they just went right into talking about the show. And it was different than a normal interview. And so I had to stop them in the middle of it and just kind of ask, like, are you guys meeting with any other designers? And that's when I learned, like, they were like, no. And so, like, it wasn't expected, but it was like, it felt so right, like
Wow.
I already knew him, I knew their vision. And I also have such a love for old Hollywood. I have even for architecture and, locations. I grew up here. I'm a Southern California girl. My great grandmother lived here and during World War II and worked in the factories. And then my grandmother was a USO dancer with all the soldiers when they came back in the 1940s. And my mother was born here. So there's something about just Hollywood in itself that I just have really loved. And when I was a teenager, my friends and I would just go on missions to find, like, Jane Mansfield's Pink Castle, or, her big, beautiful house with the heart-shaped gate and the heart-shaped pool. Or we would go find all these locations. We had all these little like Hollywood books, or we would get the stars maps,
Yep.
from the people.
Sure.
Even though we were from here, we were like, no, I want to do this. Like, I want to see all of this. And interesting enough, when they called to meet on this, I was listening to the Karina Longworth's podcast.
There's a couple. So it was.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's called Can You...
you must remember this.
You must remember this. Yeah. I always get it confused with the Muppet song, Can You Picture This? Because it's
of course you do.
It's either the Muppets or like old Hollywood.
Well, and you know that I refer to the studio as the adult Muppet show.
Oh yeah, I did see that. And then Vanessa's like breakdown of each character was so good.
And accurate.
Who's animal?
And accurate.
Who's animal? Oh, it's definitely Bryan Cranston. Yeah. So I was listening to that. So when I got the scripts, I was like already in that headspace, and we just started spitballing on it. And then Julie Berghoff, who is our amazing production designer, sent me her deck, and I started looking through, what she was doing as far as the architecture and all of that. And it was just like, okay. And everything just kind of fell into place. And then of course, Georgie and Vanessa, I sent them the deck. They were just like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. And, they just went with that, which was great. Cause it's like, and I feel like going into season 2, like now we kind of know who these characters are, and we can really even, come together and discuss, but it was very collaborative. Like everybody on that crew worked together. Adam, I feel like was the busiest, our DP, just because it's like, it was from like the morning till, like they were just figuring things out
Oh my gosh,
on the
it's just
fly. Yeah.
revolutionary. It's absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. The energy and the music is just another
Yeah.
thing that really stands out. It's choreographed so
Yeah.
tightly. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I've heard that this deck needs to be like published. It needs to be a coffee table book. I've heard that it's like glorious. So,
Yeah, there's a few
yeah.
decks. Like I have my department's deck, and then Julie has her deck, and then I know that Georgie and Vanessa had their things going. Yeah, we should
Amazing.
publish a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
it would be great to get Adam's deck. That one I don't. I mean, we had a lot of discussions about how it was going to be shot, but
Oh, did you? It,
well, okay. The first meeting when they called me in for that meeting where I
yeah.
thought I was like doing my song and dance, they definitely started talking about how they were going to film it. But the whole Wonder thing kind of came later. Like that really was
Did
like
it?
I mean, they knew that they're going to try things out. I mean, Seth and Evan, they're just ranting about like how they wanted it to feel like when we were doing the films. Like this, I remember this in the conversation very clearly when we were doing our fictitious films. It was going to be shot in a way that you knew that it was a film, right?
Okay.
And then when we were shooting, they're using different cameras and handheld when it was like the day to day to show the chaos behind making these
Right.
like very polished, beautiful
Sure.
films. They wanted to show that like, because that's really
Hmm.
how it feels when you're like running against the clock and trying to figure out all these things that need to happen in that moment. And that right away I thought was really interesting and cool and
Very unique.
very unique.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious how the film noir episode was discussed then, because it was really like a movie within a movie. You couldn't
Yeah.
sort of distinct like that one was especially meta. How did you guys
Yes.
discuss shooting that one? Even the costuming was super specific.
Yeah. I mean, that the costume was just that idea of noir mixed with modern, and that this was like because I've worked on shows before where they'll take an episode and it'll just feel like very different from the
Yeah,
rest of it.
isolated.
Like they're
Hmm.
they're trying something like I worked on Smilf years ago
Yeah,
with Frankie Shaw, and we did a Western. Like one of the episodes was just a
right.
Western, same storyline, but what if it was a Western?
What if it was Western?
What if we're on a horse instead of in a car? And so that I kind of thought about that for this. It's like, but it's
Okay,
film noir, and
cool.
a lot of the stuff that Seth was wearing is modern, but it's designed to look very vintage and noirish, and all the tones and textures we tried to play in there. I brought in a little Alain Delon, a little like French New Wave for him with his trench
Yes.
coat and his hat. And even though people think it's more Pink Panther, I'm like,
Oh,
no,
that's really funny.
that's
Peter
my
Sellers. Oh
yes.
my gosh, how funny. Yes, I
Yeah.
can see it. I can see it. Well, but that's
Yeah.
Seth, that's
Yeah. He's
that's
both.
him.
That's the thing, is he carries both of that. He
Yeah,
can
exactly.
be both of
Exactly.
them. Yeah, and
Yes.
then for Olivia Wilde, I've seen her around. I've met her briefly before, and she's just has always had this cool kind of relaxed style to her. And so I wanted to incorporate that, but still make it feel a little vintage. So she's wearing modern, kind of
Hmm.
bootcut jeans and Converse high tops, but then she has this beautiful little 40s uh, yellow Hawaiian top on
Right.
that
So subtle.
I bought that at the Pickwick Vintage Fair like the
Oh,
weekend before. I
cool.
was like, this is so cool. I think this would look great on her. And that's the shirt it became. And um, so, yeah, I just wanted to like give a little. There's something about it too that reminded me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Me too.
where
Oh
Brad
my
Pitt was
gosh.
wearing kind of that yellow.
Very
Um,
much. Very
there's a
much.
lot of little Easter eggs throughout the
Yes.
show taken from, our love of Hollywood and film, and
Yes.
um, uh, either modern or period or,
Well,
as much as possible.
that's what's so beautiful about this show is you've really glamorized Hollywood again, which is, you know, everybody just has sort of lost that love for Hollywood, and we sort of
Yeah.
like just disregard it and the streamer of it all, and
Yeah.
really like I mean, like I was telling you, my son being like, I want to do this for a career. Like, who would have? It was so shocking to me that anybody would even admire Hollywood these days. But you've brought
Yeah.
that back, and
Yeah.
I love. Where are you finding these outfits for Seth that are so like? I mean, I want them.
I
They
know.
are amazing.
I think that they're very androgynous. I think that anybody could wear them. A
So
lot of them we
good.
made. We custom made a lot of suits because he had this. In the initial meeting, he's like, I don't think this character should wear the same suit twice. It should be
Okay.
very like he
Yeah.
needs to reek of money and just of like,
But
throwing it at
it's
things.
still humble somehow. Is that what Seth does with it? Or I mean, it's still somehow
He,
approachable. It's just
yes,
aspirational, but in a
yes.
positive way, you
Well, I
know?
think also it's the way that the suits are structured and how he's able to kind of wear them. Like he's very comfortable in them. He
Yeah,
wears suits, already outside. He incorporated that into his lifestyle of wearing these like very relaxed suits. And so it wasn't like, just like throwing a suit on, some people will just be
exactly.
like, what do I do in this thing? But it's like soft shoulders and soft linen, soft fabrics. And, but there are things to it that are different than the way that he dresses normally. Like, I wanted to make sure that the construction of everything was still, the classic suiting,
Hmm.
there's no
Hmm.
elastics in there. There's
Right.
no spandex or,
Oh my God.
like none of that, like, kind of a lot of the fabrics that are used today just for the more relaxed fit.
Sure.
Um, it was more in construction, the relaxing and then using like nice linens and stuff. But
Beautiful.
we did order a lot. We ordered a lot of suits from Italy from some suit makers there that use a very nice linen, and then we would just like change buttons or like change just the shape maybe of the jacket, like take it in or like do whatever we could, to make it look the way that we wanted it to look.
Right.
Yeah.
Katherine O'Hare is very like the palette is just is that something that you are doing? I know that you're a genius, so you're doing it on purpose, but what are
Yes.
you
Yeah.
is
And
that
I've
something
spoken about that. Yeah. I mean, because I felt like this character, I mean, there was a lot of discussion of like how she would dress. Amy Pascal obviously came up in conversation, but it was like also what came into conversation with all these characters is that it's not just one person. It's just this idea, I like to call it's like an essence in the
hmm
wind,
Yeah.
of who this person is. And, I felt like for her character, especially because there is this hierarchy of like we have Bryan Cranston, and then we have Catherine O'Hara's character, and then we have Seth. We have Matt, and then we have Quinn. That there's just like this trickle down of them like looking up like to what they aim to be, right? Their
Yes.
end goal or whatever.
Yes.
And so for Catherine's character is like she's Hollywood royalty at that point. Like she has done it all. She's been around. She's the one that everybody wants to talk to, not Matt,
Yep.
and so I wanted to show her, well, within our palette, because we had a very specific palette for
Hmm.
the for
Hmm.
Continental, and then each character had their very specific palette, and her
Okay.
palette was like a lot of golds and bronzes and like these very like sophisticated, rich colors. I kept thinking of like past seasons of Max Mara, just this like, this woman
Yes.
who is so in control, but so glamorous and also kind of sexy,
Yep.
like that the way that she pulls it all together. And she's just fantastic, even though she lost her job. But that, if it is Amy Pascal or somebody in that position, that she has this taste. And then we do see her when we first meet her, we see her in her home. And I was like, well, we need to
Wow.
match her home, like this glamorous Hollywood lifestyle, even though she's a mess in that moment.
It was
Um,
so stunning the way you did that. And then she goes on from the first time you meet her, she goes on to just look like a sunset. Like she just,
yes,
it's like
yeah,
landscape. She
yeah,
looks like a whole
yeah. There's a lot of
landscape.
like these like oranges and
Yes.
yes, that was specific, and that was
Love.
very like, does this tone work? No, that tone, you know, like with
Mhm.
all of them really, but
Yeah.
like with her and with Matt's character. And then Katheryn Hahn had
Oh,
more
come
of
on.
like, she's still in that color palette, but it's more militant, you know, it's like more the
I see
army
it.
greens and the
Okay.
browns, you know, like she's just, you know, she comes in and
Yeah.
she's a force. And so, you know, everything's a little harsh, you know, a little harder in the tone, you know, it's a little more military. There's a lot
Tell
of,
me about that collaboration because that's the question that my son had for you is
yeah.
he's he can't even look. It's like the Michael Scott of his world. You know, he's just like, oh my God, I'm cringing so hard. You know, with her trying to incorporate every trend and how do you
Yeah.
guys stay on top of it like that? Like, what do you see a trend on
I,
TikTok and implement it or?
I've never been on TikTok,
Okay,
so
good.
I know they're always like the, you know, TikTok makeup, and I'm like, well, I don't know what that means,
What?
but
Yeah. Good, good,
yeah,
good. Yeah.
uh, you know, I mean, just working in this business, you see a lot of
I
fads
bet.
come and go,
I bet.
and then you have a lot of friends that see those fads come and go, and you see those fads come and go on them, and that you know, um, and it's interesting because I think her and Seth's character are the ones that I get most of like, oh, I know who you're thinking of for that. Or
Ah, I
I've
love
even
it.
had like women friends of mine that they're like, it's me, isn't it? And I'm like, no. I mean, once again, there's an essence of you. Yes, it's a type. There is, you know, this essence of this woman who it's all or nothing, you know, and that's
All
how
or
she
nothing.
kind of lives her life. And but a lot of those things that she's wearing are like that literally, you know, came from, you know, popular brands and you know,
Yes, of
designs
course, of course.
that some people can carry out, you know, like I often go into places or you know, look at designers and you know, think like how,
Your
who,
face
and
is
then you do,
hilarious. I love how
yeah,
you're trying to process it. You look at it and you go,
yes,
"Wow."
yeah. And like I have two kids, 27 and 19. And so there is this like within that world, like I could see the 27-year-olds wearing a Eckhouse Latte or, you know, some of
Right.
those things. And or what is that? Jay, what is that? Oh, it's gonna not Jay Laughlin. No, it's
The suits from Jay Laughlin, yeah. No.
yeah, no, I'm thinking of a different there's this store, and this is one of them that I'll tell
Oh
you
yeah,
what
of
it
course.
was.
Yeah. Exactly.
um, yeah, but just you know, Essence. If you go on Essence website, you know, and there's just like it's cool, it's really cool, but like who can pull it off? Some of this very kind of futuristic, spacey, you know, looks. And I was like, well, how can what if this person is just somebody that wants, you know, like she thinks it's cool. Like
Yeah.
she's out
She's
taking the
committed.
temperature. She's on the streets, right?
Yep.
Because she's doing the publicity. She knows what's happening.
Yep.
So it's like she'll see something and then some stylist would bring it into her office, like with a rack of clothes, like this
Yes.
is really hot right now. And then she just takes it and wears it, you know? Or
Oh,
she's like, you know, the other idea, because there's nothing like, it's just this amalgamation of so many experiences and ideas that kind of, you know, people process things and then, you know, I'm all about like the psychology of dressing and, you know,
hmm.
regional and all, you know, what region are you from and
Right.
what's the psychology behind it. And she could, you know, in my mind, she's somebody that grew up, you know, in the 90s, 2000s, MTV, you know, some
Yep.
J-Lo, Fly Girl, or like, you know, Gwen Stefani, you know, like these music videos that are so highly polished and, you know, stylized, like, but they're for the music video. But
Yeah. You're
she's like
wearing it. Yeah.
incorporating it. Yeah. She's like, well, if J-Lo can do it, or if Beyonce can do it, I can do it. You know, like at one point she's wearing these diesel jeans that are boots as well that have a million pockets. Like there's even like pockets on the ankle. And it's, you know, it's cool. I think it's cool. When I saw them, I was like,
Yeah.
those are so cool. But I wouldn't necessarily wear them, but like she did, you know,
She
and
did. And the
she
confidence, yeah, with
yes, the confidence.
complete
And
commitment.
And that is Katherine. That is her, bringing that
Sure.
confidence in there. Like if she can walk in those shoes, then yeah, she's going to walk in those shoes, and
Oh
she
my God.
definitely could. And those fittings were so much fun.
I
She,
bet.
she's just so game and funny. And
I would love to see the
yeah,
things that you didn't pick.
I know there were some that I was like, like there are a few hats. Like once again, I love a hat. There are some furry, crazy hats
Oh, I
like
know what you
that.
mean.
There was a beanie, but it's the way that you wear the beanie and it's squished to look like a nipple,
Oh,
and you
yeah,
wear it right here. You see those people doing that. I really,
absolutely.
well, once again, you gotta, you,
Absolutely.
you gotta slip in what you can and then appease if, some things are too much. But yeah, I do love a nipple beanie. I think they're hilarious.
Let's make that happen.
And yeah,
And
I think that's in the future.
tell me about Quinn's garb
Uh,
and how you put that together. It's the
yeah.
super cute. I just saw her in her other clothes I mean, I'm sure they're not hers. I mean,
Oh,
not
I
her
know what you did
personality.
last summer.
Yeah. I just saw her
Yeah.
in that and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like she's not in her outfits." I was really didn't know what to do with that visual information. I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I need Quinn." So
Yeah.
tell me about the clothing that you put on her and designed for her.
I talk about her character as being the one that like I relate to the most,
Okay.
like just like
Yeah.
some of the um some of the things that she wears. And she is, she came in as the assistant to Matt Remick, and but she definitely has a drive to her. And when I was first talking to them about it, they Frida, who it's loosely based on, because when I first met Seth and I worked with him, Frida Perez was his assistant, and it was on Pam and Tommy. So she's the one I was always calling and talking
Oh,
to, and then cut to she's working at Point Grey, and then she's one of the writers producers on the
wow.
studio, and I was just like, this is incredible. And so her
Oh,
character is
wow.
like loosely based off of Frida. And she was like, she's kind of the what's her name from Seinfeld, um
Elaine.
Elaine. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, if you can think of her as kind of like the Elaine, like she's in with the boys,
Yep.
but she still is like very specific. She's her own person. And I kind of took that, Elaine had her very own unique style that a lot
Yes.
of people, you know, copied, and,
Yep.
was like, oh, I'm in my Elaine look. Seinfeld was like the white puppy sneakers and the jeans, and, she had her very specific with her skirts and hair and stuff. And so, for Quinn, I just the I love the idea of the suits. Like she's kind of mimicking Matt a bit.
Yes. I see
She's
that
not
totally.
like in a skirt, so she doesn't want to be seen as a secretary. She's not
Hmm.
running around in little cute dresses or anything like that. Like she's there, to work. Like she means business, and she wants them to respect her. And she's a beautiful woman, and
Yes.
nothing you can do it can take that away from her. But she kind of
Stunning.
is a little more buttoned up,
Hmm.
and there was like, I remember right before I did this is field, but right before I started prep on this, I watched this documentary on Sheer Height, who wrote the book. She wrote this feminist book in the 70s, and she was like kind of it's a great documentary if you have a chance to watch it. But she just had, it was the way that she presented herself. She was always looked so beautiful, and she had her very unique style, and it was very kind of romantic
Mm.
and sexy, but like she was such a force of a person, but so elegant too. I don't know. There was something about it. And when I first met with Chase, I was explaining it to her. I was like, it's not so much that we want to dress you like this woman. It's more that idea of like, she has a very
Yes.
unique style that she keeps. Like she doesn't, she's not
Yes.
wavering. She's not trying. She's not like Maya, who's like, whatever is the latest fashion, I'm going to try.
Right.
Like she has like there's something about her that she
Plan.
kept that in her life, like that she just kind of went towards. And it's a lot of like vintage Chanel, vintage Valentino. Um, there's some vintage Gucci in there. There's just like this
Oh my God.
suiting,
Sounds like a
but it's
dream.
like, yeah, but it's like, it also, we were talking about that she's kind of a nepo baby, so maybe she could afford that.
Yeah,
She lives in a
yeah.
nice
Oh,
apartment. We saw
interesting.
the apartment in the show, and
Yeah.
even though she's not being taken so seriously yet, she knows that she has what it takes to do this, and it's not out of need, like monetary needs. It's more of like a drive that she
Yeah,
has, like, I'm going to conquer
absolutely.
Hollywood. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot of the suiting and um, I went through a period of time where I wore a lot of suits and ties and stuff. And some of the ties that she wears are from my own collection. There's this like really beautiful like
Oh,
gold.
wow.
I call it a waistlet because it's like a bracelet, but it fits around your waist that she wears with all her high
Oh,
waisted
wow.
slacks and just these like unique, subtle little things. She has this little like panther necklace that she wears. There's a lot of animal like on her brooches and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I love a brooch. I love a neckerchief. But
Yes.
like every time I was like in the fitting rooms with her, I was like, oh, you're Sybil Shepherd from Taxi Driver in this one, and
Oh,
or you're,
yes.
like we would just play. It was almost like playing dress up, but like it just kind of like created this very unique character for her, and she really went with it. She loved wearing the glasses and these cute little heels, and she's just like shuffling around the office, like and making her points, and yeah, no, she was. I have a real soft spot for her character, for her
Yeah.
wardrobe. It's just like it's
I
just
can
so
definitely see
cute.
the
Yeah.
seeds being planted for what she's going to become as the seasons go
Yeah,
on,
and that's what we did with the last two seasons, because it's
Hmm.
like there is a little bit of a time gap. Like then you see them and they're off to CinemaCon. And
Right.
she does say like, when they're on the plane, when you first see them, she's like, "Oh, I got a film greenlit." And
Yeah.
she's stepping into this role. So now
Yeah.
she's like her hair, she's like become somebody, and we put her
Yeah.
in skirts for that because it's like a big weekend, and like her confidence, like she's not fighting anymore, like
Right.
she's now like kind of found her groove a little bit,
Yeah, that
in that office.
the war episode really put the characters in different places at the end, which was
Yeah,
phenomenal writing. It's just so
yeah,
good. Yeah. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Well,
yeah.
Cameron, I could talk to you about each of these characters all day, and I probably will ask Kat to bring you back so we can talk about next season again,
Oh
because I feel
yeah,
like
yeah,
there's
that'd be fun.
a lot more amazing things. But the work that you are doing on this is so
Thank
fun
you,
to
thank you,
celebrate
thank
and
you,
just enjoy. And I just congratulate you on your nomination. It's so well
thank you,
deserved.
thank
Yes.
you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Cameron.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Mugresh Thakor. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.